Welcome to the Friday Happy Hour with Victory Strategist, award-winning author and your happy hour host, Annmarie Kelly. Each week, Annmarie chats with women who have reinvented, started over or wrote fabulous next chapters. They share how they overcame their midlife challenges and how you can too. So kick back with some good happy hour something to drink and enjoy today's show.
You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour with me, Annmarie Kelly. I'm that recovering good girl and your Victorious Woman Empowerment Partner. And this is where us victory chicks and you men who care about us meet on Fridays to chat about things we can do to achieve our goals, overcome our challenges, and get empowered so our lives can sparkle. And I'm glad you're joining me for Happy Hour today. Thanks for coming. You know, we've had such a crazy week this week, haven't we? Excuse me, so much is going on in the news, and I don't know about you, but the degree of acrimony in our culture right now is the worst I've ever seen it. So, in honor of peace, Passover, and Good Friday, I invited speaker, author, and master influencer Jill Lublin to join us today. I've known Jill through business for a long time, and she just wrote a book called The Profit of Kindness. It's a business-style book, but what Jill says is easily adapted to outside of the workplace, and we're going to talk about that. And specifically, it's great for our current political climate. So stay tuned for Jill Lublin. Now, you probably noticed I wasn't here for a couple of weeks. Last week it was because something was going on with the university, and WCH has a contract with them for that kind of programming. But the week before, I was attending a wedding in Atlanta. It was for the marriage of the younger daughter of my childhood girlfriend, Carol. Now, and I think I mentioned it last month. When we were in like the 6th, 7th, 8th grade at St. Dorothy's in Drexel Hill, I would walk to school, and on my way I'd stop by Carol's house, and then we would walk that mile or so trek to St. Dorothy's together. And we would talk about basketball, and we were both on the basketball team. And we talked about boys, of course, and, getting our periods and wearing bras for the first time. And we were pretty much same size, so when we walked in the May procession, remember the May processions? Then we usually walked we never walked next to each other, but we usually walked like either in front or in back of the other one. Well, her daughter Catherine was married in September, but we couldn't go. So this time, Joseph and I went, and we drove. We drove mostly because we needed to get away from our phones and be alone by ourselves for an extended period of time without any unwanted interruptions. And you know how that is, between your devices and all the stuff that goes on, that person that you're spending your life with, sometimes you forget how that is, just the two of you. So we do that as often as we can because we both like that driving part, and we like being with each other. And the other secret part is that I'm not a good flyer. So anyway, we left on a Wednesday morning, and we drove straight through. We didn't drive straight through to Atlanta. We drove to Asheville, North Carolina. And if you're a regular listener, you've probably heard me talk about it before because it's a favorite place for Joseph and me. Have you ever been there? It's a unique place. Well, and Asheville itself is fine, and then there's the Biltmore, and then there's the place that I like going to the best. It's called the Grove Park Inn. I've spoken there a couple times when I presented for Clemson University's Professional Development for Women programs. So I've been there in the spring for those programs. I've been there at Christmas. I've done the Biltmore both of those seasons, and it's good. So what Joseph and I decided, it would have been a good stop on the way to Atlanta. And, frankly, we could have split the drive into two 5 or 6 hour trips, going halfway and then going the rest of the way. But Joseph pointed out that it would have been less time. If we did that in over 2 days, we would have had less time in Asheville. And it was an almost 10-hour trip, but we got to Asheville that night around 9 o'clock. And we stayed outside of town. I wanted to be as close as I could to the interstate so we could get to Atlanta the next day, or in the day that we left. And there really wasn't much. I don't know if this has ever happened to you. Like, sometimes I think it's a good thing to bring food with you, because a lot of places roll up their sidewalks around 9 o'clock, and Asheville's one of those places. So there was really nothing much open except the Waffle House. And I don't think we have too many of those around here. The closest one I can think of is on Route 1 in Maryland, like around Rising Sun. Anyway, and listen, frankly, if you've never been to one, you aren't missing much. But we did, but it was what was open. And I didn't know. If I had known that the McDonald's was open, we would have gone there. But we didn't. So we went to this Waffle House thing. And when we left, Joseph's stomach was upset. And Joseph's a pretty good eater. He'll eat pretty much anything. And, he was like, my stomach's up. Like all night, all I heard was my stomach's upset. And the next morning, he was scouting through some of the stores looking for a T-shirt that said, "I survived the Waffle House." Because he did. The next day, we went into the town of Asheville, which has awesome biscuits at the Honey Tupelo Cafe. And, we walked around the little commercial area. But at sunset, we did something that is my favorite thing to do in Asheville. We went to the Grove Park Inn to have a drink on the veranda and watch as the sun set over the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. We didn't actually last out that day. It was a little bit chilly, so we didn't actually last outside on the veranda for too long. But since I knew some of the nooks and crannies of the Grove Park Inn, I knew a place where we could go to watch the sunset indoors. And it was a beautiful night. I posted a picture of me and Joseph watching with the sunset behind us on today's radio wrap-up at victoriouswoman.com. But I will tell you that I forgot to hit send, so I will do it after the show. But take a look at the picture because it's cute. So after the sunset, our plan was to go back into town and have dinner, either back at the Honey Tupelo Cafe or Mayfell's. But as we were leaving, the band was starting to play in the Great Hall. And the Great Hall is this huge wooden stone place that has two uber big fireplaces at either end. And that night, both fireplaces had raging fires. So before we left, we decided we were going to stand around the Great Hall, take in some of the ambiance, watch the last vestiges of that twilight, and listen to the band for just a couple minutes, and we're going to go into town. Well, that band called themselves the Three Bs because they had the guys in the combo all had names beginning with B. So we watched as the lead singer was interacting with the small group of patrons, and he was fun. Well, next thing you know, we found a table like right front and center to the combo. We had another drink. And a little bit later, we ordered appetizers and another round. We never left. We took and then when the band took requests, Joseph offered one. It was an old Righteous Brothers tune, and they were happy to play it. But when they did, the band leader looked at Joseph and said, "This is one you just have to dance to." Well, nobody else was dancing, even though there was room. But he kept egging Joseph on. And sort of me. He was like, "Don't you want to be romantic with your sweetie?" And stuff like that. So we did get up to dance. And soon afterwards, a few other couples, including a mom with her son, were also dancing. And they were cute. So there were a fair number of couples dancing in different parts of the Great Hall. So I figured what happened was other couples looked at Joseph and me dancing and said, "Hell, if they aren't embarrassed to get up and do that, we have nothing to worry about." So anyway, we stayed there all night. And we never went back to town. We listened to the band. We got a little toasted. We danced together. We chatted briefly with some of the other dancers. We had the best night. And it was a good thing that the band quit around 10 because we would have stayed there longer. And we had to leave Asheville for Atlanta not later than 7:30 in the morning. So, because I had a bridal luncheon at 11. So a little bit later and another drink wouldn't have made that so easy. Anyway, we did it. We got back to our hotel. We left the next morning, and we had an awesome time. And I'll have to tell you more about it at another time to tell you about our trip to Nashville. We included a couple of other things. And their food. I don't know how anybody in the South ever loses weight because everything is breaded and deep fried. And has pimento cheese on it. So that was all. A lot of that was all new for me. But I'm going to have to tell you more later because right now we have master influencer Jill Lublin. I know, Jill. I can't even believe I said that. So go get some good happy hour something to drink. And after the break, we're going to talk some kindness with master influencer Jill Lublin. You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour.
When you wished you had more time for yourself, and now you have it, but you notice you're keeping busy with stuff, but that stuff isn't making you feel happy or filled up? And when you think about what would make you happy and filled up, you get stuck or feel overwhelmed. And then you go back to what's more familiar, more comfortable, even if it's not making you happy. Wouldn't you love to find a way to start making sense of that deep discontent you're feeling? Well, you're not alone. I'm Annmarie Kelly, author, victory strategist, and the radio show host of the Friday Happy Hour. And I know there's a place for you, one that other women have found to be both inspirational and empowering. And it's the Victorious Woman Project. Go there now and get on my mailing list, where you'll be the first to know about my upcoming online workshops, teleseminars, and more. And while you're there, take a couple minutes to look over my blog. You can download some of the free stuff I have for you and let it get your creative juices going. I'm looking forward to meeting you at the Victorious Woman Project. And that's at www.victoriouswoman.com.
Welcome back to the Friday Happy Hour. I'm Annmarie Kelly. I'm your host here, and I'm with speaker, author, and master influencer, Jill Lublin. Hi, Jill. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you.
Well,
so glad to be with you today.
Oh, thank you. You know, I'm glad you're here, too, and I'm so looking forward to sharing your wisdom with my listeners. And, you know, Jill, you and I know each other through National Speakers Association. And,
that's where it is.
Yeah. And I remember... I think it was. I'm thinking that it was in Atlanta when I think you taught a class, and then we ended up at the formal that night having a conversation. I'm pretty sure it was Atlanta. And you are so smart and savvy. And I've always known you for marketing skills, and you've written several books on different aspects of marketing. But you know, this one, The Profit of Kindness, it's a little bit different.
Yes, it is.
What prompted you to write this one?
Well, my 82-year-old friend who, bless her heart, you know, I've known her for over 20 years, and she's dealing with some aging issues. And I've been right there along with her, helping her out and taking her places and taking her to lunch and making sure she gets some doctor's appointments and sometimes occasionally saving her when something happens that, you know, she needs emergency help.
Yeah.
So one day she said to me, you know, Jill, you're so kind, and I really appreciate it. Wouldn't it be nice if other people were more kind consistently? And she says, you know, wouldn't it be incredible if we had a new currency, the currency of kindness? And you know, Annmarie, when someone said something to you, exactly, and it just sparked everything for me. I was like, oh, my God, that's it, the currency of kindness. And that book became The Profit of Kindness and how to use kindness in business and in life and all that great stuff.
You know, I have a lot of listeners who are small business owners, and some of them are on the newer side. And you know, Joe, you know how it is. You're constantly competing with other companies, and you get that, I guess that's like that sort of fear that you have to be cutthroat to succeed. And you so disagree with that in The Profit of Kindness.
Yes, I do. So I disagree with it because the truth is I like to talk about using a conscious act of kindness. And also in Profit of Kindness, we speak of, you know, everybody's concerned about ROI, as you should be, and making money in business. I'm also concerned about what we call ROK, return on kindness. And what we found is when people use kindness in business, they get return on kindness. They make more money. They're happier. Their employees are happier. Consistently, I found in my research with Profit of Kindness that people were happier, companies were happier, your customers are happier, that, you know, the business flows really well, and that's pretty darn consistent all across the board, whether you're a solopreneur or more employees or a major corporation. What I'm also fascinated by, if you watch the trends, and of course I've been watching them, that kindness is the new buzzword. Happiness was really hot and still continues to be.
Oh, right, yeah.
But kindness is too.
And it's hard these days to be doing that with a lot of the stuff that's going on. But, Jill, I have to say, Joseph and I, you probably heard me talking that we had just got back from a trip. And we were so fortunate in the quality of service that we got every place we went. And people sometimes say to us, well, how did you meet that person? And what I realized was, like attracts like. And if we're nice to the people who give service to us, then I think that even if it's not with that particular person, I think it just sets up like a domino effect in our lives, that we just meet those kinds of people who give us the best, whether it's a client, whether it's somebody giving a service, a colleague. Don't you think that's like kind of that same thing?
What kindness is across the board, and yes, it's a lot the same thing.
Now, when you talk about it, you say you grow a business with kindness, and that would be hard without reading the book, and people should get the book. How do you grow a business with kindness?
Well, a couple of different ways. Number one, we have a sevenfold pathway to kindness, different words that mean different things around kindness. So one of them is flexibility. And I think you grow a business by being flexible. I know, I do a lot of PR consulting, and one of my clients came to the call. She was all upset, clearly stressed. I said, you know what? It doesn't sound like it's a really good day for you. She'd been working on taxes. And I said, you know what, let's just reschedule this call. And she said, really? Oh, God, I know your policy is that if you miss a call, it counts. I said, well, yeah, 80% of the time you have rules, and 20% of the time you be flexible. So I think that grows a great business. And kindness, interestingly enough, gets remembered consistently. You remember people who are kind. You remember kind actions. I think intuitively we can all say that when companies and people are kind, your heart expands. You come back for more. Southwest Airlines, one of my favorite airlines, not only because they put a heart in their logo, and I love that, but also with their free baggage, I love that. Mm-hmm. And additionally, their flexible policy. So I'm an A-list member. Flexibility is one of the return on kindness, one of the rocks. I'm an A-list member, and you know what? I can stand by any time of the day if I miss my flight now. How wonderful is that? That means a lot to someone like me who travels a lot for business and speaking and training.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing. So if you think about that kind of thing with the in dealing with your competition, I mean, you stick with Southwest Airlines because like right now we hear all that stuff about United, but United was not doing that. They weren't being kind.
Exactly. Oh my gosh! Not only were they not being kind, but look at the PR scandal they're in now.
Yeah.
I'm a PR person, and that's my expertise. So I am always looking at how does kindness affect your business. And guess what? Now that CEO has had to not only apologize multiple times, but they will be in a major lawsuit. This has made major news. This has gone viral. This has created outrage. Mm-hmm. That's not the kind of acts you want. It certainly wasn't kind, and that's the consequence of unkindness. Now, kindness, on the other hand, begets other consequences and great PR. Like my Panera Bread story, I have to tell you, this young man in New Hampshire, his grandmother was dying. And she was at the hospital, and she said, and he was there with her, and she said, I want some clam chowder from Panera. And he said, okay, and went to Panera and called up Panera and said, my grandma's in the hospital and wants clam chowder. And they said, well, I'm sorry, it's Tuesday, and, well, we make clam chowder on Friday, but happy to help then. And he said, well, did I mention, my grandmother's dying, and would you be willing? And the woman who answered the phone, did it. She made the clam chowder.
Yeah.
Now, you want to talk about great PR. He went and posted this, because he was just grateful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have verified that as of latest look, 330,000 slightly over that.
Oh, my goodness.
Amounts of Facebook likes. Hello, is that hot or what? And I'm still telling the story, So that's really important.
It would have cost Panera millions of dollars to get that same kind of PR.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that little bit of kindness made such a huge difference.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really a key.
Jill, one of the things that I wonder is when we deal with some people in business, especially it seems like younger people, it feels like their focus is on what do I get versus what do I give. Mm-hmm. And if we have an employee or it just, like my kid has that kind of an attitude, how do we help them shift that focus?
So a couple things. One is you're talking about with children in particular?
Mm-hmm.
With kids, So here's the interesting thing. I think a new generation is being trained, actually. There's sort of the good and the bad. At one level, I think they've got a lot of willingness to make a big difference in the world. And that's a great thing, right? Mm. Now, one of the profit of kindness pathways is connection. I think the problem with the kids today, so to speak, is that they're so entangled in their phones and their communication is through text and social media that their connection is actually faltering. And so I don't know about that. Patience is another one of the return on kindness. And I frankly think this is a big problem in our society today generally for all of us because everything's moving so quick and trying to be patient with each other, that's really a key.
Yeah, because you get everything right now. You can, you want an answer and you go to Google and like everything's like immediate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
and I think that's a problem.
So helping them develop patience and to develop those interpersonal skills is really a big deal.
Exactly.
Yeah. Jill, we need to take a break. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about the personal side of the profit of kindness. So everybody hang in there. We're going to be right back. You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour.
Hi, this is Annmarie Kelly, author, victory strategist, and the radio show host of the Friday Happy Hour. I trust you're enjoying my conversation with this fabulous, victorious woman. If you're getting inspired with ideas and feeling empowered, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's more for you. Tips, downloads, resources at the Victorious Woman Project. Go to victoriouswoman.com and look around and get on my mailing list so you can be the first to know about the newest good things I have for you. That's www.victoriouswoman.com.
Welcome back to the Friday Happy Hour. I'm Annmarie Kelly, and I'm here with Master Influencer Jill Lublin. And Jill, we're talking about using kindness in business. We're talking about your book, The Profit of Kindness. And before we move on, there's one other thing that I wanted to ask you. And I hear people say that being kind in business just gets them kicked around. And I know you disagree with it, but what do you tell people when they say, well, being kind is just another way to set myself up for getting used?
Oh, wow. Okay, a couple things. One is, first of all, kindness doesn't mean you roll over, okay, and that you have no boundaries. I think it's important that you have boundaries, absolutely, and that you be clear with folks on how you want to be treated. A great story, I was on a marketing cruise. It was so much fun, and anyway, I was in the spa, and I come out and all relaxed, and this woman was yelling at the woman behind the counter. Clearly something went wrong at her treatment. I don't know what happened. I was trying not to listen to everything. But she was upset. She was loud. She was really, in my opinion, handling the situation not very well. And the woman who she was yelling at, I thought, did an excellent job of being kind and clear. She said, I really hear that you're upset, and I'm really trying to take care of you, and I really want to take care of you. But I need you to do two things. Number one, please lower your voice. Number two, just tell me what happened so that I can understand it, but I'm going to ask you to stop yelling at me. And just like that, like, wow. And the woman stopped. It was like, oh. Because I think people kind of go out of control. We go into reaction, and one of the things that I do feel strongly about and talk about in Profit of Kindness is don't react, Don't send that text and that email. Don't fire off, all of that. So just be careful. And I think that's, all good and really important.
It's funny that you would mention that, because one of the things, that's one of my boundaries. No one's allowed to yell at me.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And if somebody starts, and it's one thing if somebody raises their voice, and then I tell them, you're raising your voice, and, I'd appreciate if you didn't do that. But if they get to the point of yelling, I say, stop. Nobody's allowed to yell at me. Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody.
Yes.
And it shocks people. Sometimes they don't even realize that that's what they were doing. They just got all fired up on whatever it was, and they were angry or, whatever. But just to say that, I think that is one of the most valuable boundaries. I don't need to use it as much now, but, 20 years ago I did. And it was, I think when you do that, letting people know is a way that you just, having those boundaries that you don't get walked on.
Mm-hmm. Very important.
Mm-hmm. Jill, you know what? I just posted something on Facebook, on my blog this morning, rather, about the degree of acrimony that there is. And I've had people tell me that they've gotten off Facebook. This is since the presidential election. They've gotten off Facebook. They can't be on Twitter, or to me, it ruins their day. So I don't understand why they even do it. They've gotten off of it. But when they are still on it, they're like, why are they posting that stuff? Or why are they even reading those posts? There's such acrimony. What are we going to do about it? What do you think's going on?
Well, I think there was no accident that God had me write this book on kindness for 2 days. By the way, the book came out 2 days after the election result, after the inauguration, 2 days after Donald Trump was inaugurated.
Wow.
A book on kindness, which is why I've been getting on major media all the time, because we need it more than ever. You're right. The level of discrimination, prejudice, hatred has all gone up. Mm-hmm. I hate to say it, but he has encouraged a lot of that because it's a bit his style. That doesn't mean we all have to follow the lead, and I do think it's up to each of us individually to take actions to be more kind. But I do think there's a bit of hostility, shall we say. We had a very tough election. Now, of course, there's scandal after scandal still going on, and lots of anger, people taking sides. And really, the truth is, no matter what side you're on, you still have to be kind, listen to the other side, respect other opinions, and do your best to be kind. And sometimes that means keeping your mouth shut. And sometimes that means walking away from a situation. Not responding. And I think that's a piece of it. I think, in today's society, we've become, look at Donald Trump. He ran a reality TV show. We are a reality TV show-based society. If you watch them, it's all about reaction, and that's what gets the most news, and that's what makes news.
Sure.
I'm saying as one example. Mm-hmm. And now we have a president who ran a reality show. So it's continuing, really. We are that kind of society somewhat, and we get bites of information to us delivered in 20-second increments. It's not deep. It's not a lot to chew on. We don't have discussion times and work it out times. So we need to create that as society, as individuals, as companies. And here's good news I saw in Profit of Kindness in our research is that companies are using those terms in their annual reports in their mission statements. You know, the word kindness is appearing. Mm-hmm. I'm being hired to go in and train corporate who has this problem and who has these issues so that I can work with teams and teach them to be more kinder and create systems that work.
Jill, what do you find when you do that? What do you find? Do you have like one or two things that seem to work almost always?
Yes. Number one, having a listening time, meaning everybody gets to just listen to what everybody else needs, and posing specific questions really helps. Airing things out. That means, you know, okay, let's say, what is it you're frustrated with? Let's get it on the table and hear it out with no comment and no reaction from anyone. And then, you know, really being listened to makes a lot of difference for people. I find that most of us aren't really listening, you know, that it is important to really hear the other person and just make space for that, not talk over them, not think about what you're saying, but just really making space and time.
I remember when, Jill, one of the things I was, in one of the communication skills that I was teaching, it seemed like to be a shock when people realized that communication was a two-way experience. And it was that, and I can't remember, there was a research project and there were statistics around it, that people spend more time, when somebody else is talking, they spend more time thinking, what am I going to say next? Instead of actually listening to the heart of what that person's saying. Mm-hmm. Do you find that a lot?
I find it a lot, and especially, again, in distraction. I mean, I watch, you know, parents and their children, they're at dinner, and their kids trying to say something to them, and the parents in the, you know, on the phone texting. I'm guilty of it myself. Somebody will be talking to me, and I'm texting, and I'm listening, and I'm texting, and, you know, I've gotten good at it. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of us are good at it, but that doesn't mean it's always the best thing to do. Sometimes it's the only thing, and it's the right thing to do in just that moment. I'm just saying, I think that we've become somewhat accustomed to not being fully present and even not fully listening.
And unfortunately, we're so distracted with all our devices, and we're getting so used to like multitasking our brains that that I don't think it doesn't seem to be getting any better. But
no.
But I like what you're saying, and that is kind. If you sit and listen to someone and give them your full attention, like your 80-something friend, I'm sure you give her your full attention.
Yes, I do.
And she loves that.
Of course. And yes, I'm just with her. And that doesn't mean at times I'm not tired or, you know, maybe I'm not always 100% my best self. I do my best, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm there and I'm present and I'm taking her out. And, you know, I realize it's funny because she doesn't have a cell phone. Not, you know, I think it's just decisions she made. Mm-hmm. You know, so guess what? She's not on it and I put mine away. And, you know, I mean, I'll leave it on the table, just worst comes to worst for emergency, but I'm not using it. And so I just notice it's a different interaction with she and I, that it's very sweet, it's very present, and yes, I'm right there present with her. And I just remember I have a dear friend who runs, you know, a very successful company, and we go to lunch, and she's constantly, you know, answering a text or, oh, just a second, Jill, hang on, you know, somebody would call her, and I did not get my time with her, you know. Now, I've learned to just, okay, when I'm with her, that's just what it's like, right. And part of that is patience and just being willing to be flexible, right, because that's what she needs. But I noticed it didn't always feel good. And I did feel second. And so I do think, you know, when you're with someone for now, just be with them. You know, get your texts out of the way beforehand. Don't answer your phone for a full hour. You know, they're doing a great campaign, you know, it can wait. Mm-hmm. Well, it can wait. Mm-hmm. It can wait.
Yeah, I think when we were coming up and there were no cell phones, we did wait.
Yeah, like, oh, my God, what a concept. Somebody can wait an hour to get a response from you.
Jill, I know we're going to have to let you go, but there was one other thing I wanted to ask you, and it was, you know, Easter's coming up, and some of us will be grappling with some toxic conversations with our relatives, and it seems like you can't go any place without somebody bringing up politics. So how do I use kindness with, well, you know, that one relative that always likes to stir the pot, and, you know, and politics have given those people like an extra an extra tool to do it with?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things. I would say something like, I just think it's best if we don't really talk about that right now. Can we just enjoy each other's company? I'd really like to do that. And if they keep going, I mentioned I would just really prefer right now if we don't talk about that. Sometimes you just have to keep reminding people that this is what you agreed to,
right? And
that's okay. So I think that's a good thing, is to say, I just really prefer that we don't talk about that right now. And then hold the boundaries. I mean, if you violate the boundaries, shame on you. You know what I'm saying? If it's about them, and I just mean that in the best possible way. But if it's them, just say, I'm really asking. Please, I don't choose to talk about this right now, and that's it. And just shut your mouth. I mean, I think that's the thing. If people have nothing to engage with, they won't engage, right?
That's true. And Jill, I could see myself saying, can we talk about this? Let's have a conversation by phone next week. But for right now, let's celebrate what's happening in this day, or celebrate being with family or something. And I could see where other people would respect that.
Yes. Let's just celebrate what we came here to celebrate, which is being together at Easter.
Jill, thanks so much for joining me at Happy Hour today. And before you go, there's two things. I don't want to forget to tell you that the pictures you took for this book are wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
You're beautiful in person, but I know it's not easy to capture that essence. And whoever took those photos captured your essence. So nice job to them.
Thank you so much. And
how can my listeners get in touch with you?
Sure. Well, go to JillLublin.com. That's my name with lots of L's. It's JILL. L-U-B as in boy, L-I-N as in Nancy.com, JillLublin.com. Also, for Profit of Kindness, you go to profitofkindness.com. It'll take you through to order the book and any places that you love to go, or available at Barnes & Noble. Always good, too. So great ways. Let me know how I can help you in any way with messaging, PR, or getting a book done. I'm an expert in all of that. So be great to help your listeners in any way they need.
And all of your information is also on today's radio wrap-up at victoriouswoman.com. There's a link to the book and a link to your website. So it would be a good thing if anybody wants to talk with you. And just hang out on her website for a little bit. It would be you would like what you're reading. Jill,
thank you.
Yeah, Jill, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate being here. Take care.
You too.
Keep being kind.
And Victory Chicks and you guys are going to take a short break, and I have more to say when we get back. So please stay with me. You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour.
Are you one of those women who lived the first part of your life as a really good girl? That is, you did all the right things and followed all the so-called rules for women? I was like that too. But have you noticed that once you passed 40, you have less patience for those rules? Maybe you even think that the rules really don't make sense for you anymore. Maybe they never did and you just didn't realize it. Do you want to go where other recovering good girls meet to inspire each other and support their new empowered selves? Then join me, Annmarie Kelly, and some very fabulous victorious women. We're on Facebook at the Victorious Woman Project. So go to facebook.com/Victorious Woman Project. I'll talk to you there.
Welcome back to the Friday Happy Hour. That was interesting with Jill Lublin, and I was embarrassed that I've known Jill for about 10 years and never knew her name was spelled incorrectly. And during one of the breaks, she called Fred and asked Fred to tell me that I was pronouncing her name wrong. And I'm such a fuss about that because, well, Kelly's an easy last name to pronounce. But my legal last name is 13 letters, and, I've told you this before, it's Chumma Kelly, so not easy to pronounce for some people. My fourth graders used to do it. When I would put it on the blackboard, when I had young kids, when I was teaching school, and I would write CHUMAKELLY, and those little fourth graders, they would get it because they kept thinking of it phonetically, but their parents would just look at the long Italian name and not get it. So it was like a whole different deal for them. So I wanted to tell you that this was a religious week for a lot of us, and for the Jews, we've been in the middle of Passover, and it started on Monday, and it's over. And your Seder probably was. I guess your Seder was Monday and Tuesday, but I think is it Wednesday or Thursday? Tuesday or Wednesday, I think, is the end of Passover. And it's Holy Week, which pretty much started on Palm Sunday, last Sunday, and it goes through till Saturday, and then we celebrate. It's the holiest day of the year in the Christian calendar is Easter Sunday. So whichever one you're celebrating, I'm wishing you peace and love. And what I wanted to talk about a little bit was, Lent was 40 days, and now it's over. But there's another 40-day thing that you can be getting ready for, and that is it's just 40 days today to the 2017 Girlfriend Gala. And the Girlfriend Gala is shaping up to be another fun event. It's always fun, but each year it seems to get better. So some of you don't even know this, that it started as a potluck in my house. When Victorious Woman was received its official designation to be Victorious Woman Month with McGraw-Hill Chase's calendar of events, then it happened like right before the end of April. So I was real quick. I sent out something to all my friends, and I said, bring food, I'll bring wine, and come to my house. And we did that for several years, and then we moved into some businesses in Westchester. And then I guess it was 6 or 7 years we started out at the Edgemont Country Club, which is closed now, but so we had the first couple there, and then this will be our third year at Penn Oaks, and so I think it just gets better and more interesting. And I had breakfast yesterday with Jen Cronenberger in Downingtown at the Green Street Cafe, which, for some of you know, if you're in Westchester, Market Street Grill and Green Street Cafe are owned by the same company, the same people. And so I met with Jen, and she's going to be talking with us at this year's Girlfriend Gala. She's going to be terrific. She's giving you a preview when she comes to happy hour, and I think it's the first or second week of May. She's coming to happy hour, and you'll get a sample of her brand of motivation. But one of the things I like about her is she talks about the same kinds of things I talk about. So maybe it's a little narcissistic, but I like what she has to say. And the same with Mary Fran Bontempo. Now, I know that Mary Fran has been here, and she was on Rerun not too long ago. So she was not ready for Granny Panties lady. And she's coming to Girlfriend Gala to make you laugh. So that's where we are with speakers. And, of course, I speak a little bit at night. I'm the MC. So I speak a little bit at different times during the night. But, this year we have some very cool donations coming in for our silent auction and raffle items. The Phillies have given us they're so good to us. They give us a package, and it includes 2 great seats, tickets for 2 great seats, and the Diamond Club, and a parking pass. And the Eagles give us tickets for a specific game in the fall. And this year the Blue Rocks, the Blue Rocks in Delaware, they have given us tickets also for 2 reserved seats for the game of your choice. And then, wait till I tell you this story. I got to talk to Art Roman this week from the Kitchen Workshop in Paoli. Have you ever been there? Art does a great job of making cooking fun. And when you go there, you're part of the crew. And so you're there with maybe 6 or 7, 8 other people, and you're all the cooks, and together you cook like this dinner or whatever's the specific thing of that workshop. And you do it all under the direction of Art, so he tells you how to cut things and stuff like that. So you cook it and you eat it, and and you drink a lot. And I think that might be what makes it even more fun. So you get to meet a bunch of people who you've never met before. And they're all there for the same reason. They're there to learn to cook something, to meet new people, and to have a good time. But here's the best part with my experience from this week. Knowing how many of the girlfriends enjoy going to the Kitchen Workshop, one night this week I called Art Roman, at the kitchen workshop and asked him to donate a class. Now, Art wasn't on his phone, was on his phone, the other line, I guess, at the other time, so I got his voicemail and left a message, and then I followed it up with an email. Well, maybe like about a half hour later, the phone rang, and it was Art Roman. And he graciously said he would donate 4 classes to passes to a class, which was awesome. But as if that wouldn't have made me happy enough, it turns out that Art is a happy hour listener. He was talking Victory Chicks and telling me what shows he liked and didn't like. And you know what? I loved it all. I love when I hear from you and from any of the listeners, whether you send me an email or you call during a show. And Art, if you're listening, I want you to know you made my day. And thank you so much. I think one of the things at the Victory Chicks that the Girlfriend Gal love is that we get the best things for our silent auction and raffle. You know, like Art Roman's Kitchen Workshop class. And we're putting together a Westchester weekend thanks to a generous donation from Fawnbrook. If you don't know from Fawnbrook, they're that beautiful bed and breakfast on Rosedale Road. And it was originally owned, I believe, by one of the Darlingtons. I remember looking up the history of it one time and was really, really blown away by it. It was the Darlington, I think I'm getting this right. It was the Darlington woman who became an attorney. And back in that day, that was so odd for a woman to be a professional woman. And she was. And this was her house. And if I'm wrong, send me an email and tell me that I'm wrong. But I think that I have that right because I'm always very impressed about that particular place. And I don't live far from there, so I pass it all the time. And we're connecting that with a couple of tickets from the Chester County Historical Society and getting some restaurant things. So it's going to be a great Chester County weekend. So it's the kind of thing like if you have friends coming in, and they can stay at Vaughnbrook and get to know I think we have a Longwood Gardens ticket and stuff like that. So, and then Sheila from Summer Nights Bread and Breakfast in Wildwood donated a night. And Sheila does a great job of bringing each room in her 50s style bed and breakfast to life. She has this thing called a Marilyn room and an Elvis room. And Joseph wanted to sleep in that Elvis room, and I was like, no, I don't think so. You can choose Elvis or romance, but the two things aren't happening in that same room. So we didn't stay there. And I think the room we did stay in was like the Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello room. And when I go there this year, I'm renting the 50s movie room, which is right up my alley. And so here's the thing, and then Sheila serves breakfast it looks like you're going to Happy Days. And she has booths and a jukebox, and she serves your food in a poodle skirt and saddle shoes, you know, and one of the shirts that have her initial on them, just like, you just feel like you're in Happy Days. So those are just some of the goodies that the Girlfriend Gala is cooking up for you this year. And you can see more of our Girlfriend Gala goodies on the gala page at victoriouswoman.com. You know, and before we go, I'm wondering if any of you were at the Westchester Story Slam on Tuesday. And if you were, did you hear my rebellion story? I have to tell you, it's so funny. It was rebellion, and I knew that's what it was, but in my head I translated it to innovation because what I talked about was the 5-year marriage. Now, I didn't win, but Joseph said he was there and he was counting the scores. And if he did it right, he said, I came in second. So I was happy. Out of 8 people, I was happy for that. I was happy that I got that experience because it was my first time doing it. And it's one thing when you talk to a group in like a corporate setting or like a Toastmasters or something. A whole different thing when you're talking to people or drinking and having dinner. So it was my first time at Story Slam. I was nervous, but I think I did okay. And if you want to hear my story, I posted it on today's radio wrap-up, which I didn't upload yet. So I didn't post that blog, the radio wrap-up yet, but I will as soon as I go back to my office. So, Victory Chicks and you guys, that's it for today. My quote for you is from Basil Hume, who said, he The great gift of Easter is hope, Christian hope, which makes us have that confidence in God, in His ultimate triumph, and in His goodness and love, which nothing can shake. So take that into your weekend, all you Christians, and have a fabulous Easter. Thanks for coming today, and I'll talk to you next week. Jen's on.
Thanks for listening to this Friday Happy Hour. Make sure you subscribe, rate and review today's show. And join us again next week for the Friday Happy Hour with Annmarie Kelly.